morning. Although the moon's no more than a crescent, the sky was very light when we've been out this week. A week or so before Christmas is a critical time, with the light finger who steal Christmas trees and poach pheasants. So we keepers get out on patrol more at this time than any other. Well, it acts as a good deterrent, because the wide boys knows which of the efficient shoots, and so they're more likely to plot the rays where there's less chance of them getting caught. Mind you, one old poacher in my young days used a catapult. And he crept through the woods on moonlit nights till he could see a bird silhouetted against the sky, when he knocked it off its perch with a silent pellet. It's terrible difficult to catch a chap like that, because there ain't even a whisper to tell you where to look. And when there ain't much moonlight this year, they has to work just after dusk or just before dawn, which is the times we've been out this last few days. And we shall be till Christmas is over too. Well, now at Grey Gables last week, Jack Woolley had the welcome mat out for Caroline Bone.
I got them to send up a coffee percolator for you, and I've put a few of my own pictures on the walls.
Oh, you needn't have gone to so much trouble. Oh, what lovely chrysanthemums.
Just trying to make you feel at home, Caroline. I know Lord Netherbourne grows chrysanthemums.
Oh, yes, he pulls the pants off the whole family.
Oh, well, we all have our little enthusiasms. My handyman Higgs is turning into quite an addict. He's practically taken over one of the smaller greenhouses. Perhaps Lord Netherbourne would like to look in one day.
I'm sure he'd love to. Shall I unpack a bit and report for duty?
No, Audrey. You enjoyed yourself on the slopes then?
Oh, it was great fun. Terrific.
It always looks very jolly from the brochures. I thought of having a ski slope installed at Grey Gables once. Artificial, of course.
Oh, of course.
I don't suppose we could have competed with St. Moritz, but I did find a little band who offered to lay on a Tyrolean evening twice a week.
Oh.
I dare say you enjoyed your Tyrolean evenings.
Well, actually, I was with a chalet party, not in a hotel.
Pity. You missed out there.
We managed to live it up one way or another.
Very good. I'm not a man of many regrets, Caroline, but I do believe that little scheme might have worked. Tyrolean evenings with shoe platter highlights, whatever they are.
Grey Gables, the Meyerhofen of the Midlands. Oh, what a lovely lot of wardrobe space.
You'll need it. I did mention you'd be entitled to a dress allowance. You'll want to wear a different gown each evening when you're socialising with the guests.
As long as you don't want me to sweep in and do a twirl.
Eh? Oh, good heavens, no.
I might fall over. I'm nervous enough as it is.
No nonsense.
Honestly, I've never been a hostess before. Shula says she knew one or two in Bangkok, but we didn't think that was quite the same thing.
Caroline, we are trying to create at Grey Gables the elegance and fine taste associated with country house living at its best.
Ah.
A day on the shoot, then sherry in the residence sitting room before dinner. Log fires, relaxed conversation.
That's my bit.
Exactly. I will come in, of course, but I rely on you to make the introductions. That way, they won't start ordering gin and tonics off me the way they did last time. We get a few foreigners, I'm afraid, who wouldn't recognise a gentleman in evening dress if they fell over it.
Oh, dear.
Well, I'll leave you to it.
Right.
I'll go and give Captain his mid-morning Vicky. I tried to make him get up and come to greet you, but he's a little devil for his electric fire these cold mornings.
I'll come down to your office, shall I?
When you're ready. Perhaps I'll dig out the file on the Tyrolean evenings. You can tell me what you think. See if it's worth our trying to organise one.
Well, you can see from here how the water's lying on the surface, even with the rain we've had so far.
Yeah, it does look a bit like a paddy field. But you always knew it would have to be drained, Phil.
I didn't realise how serious it was. I know the land runs next to Brookfield, but there's that big hedge in between. I never had cause to come tramping over here.
Well, you have now. What will you do? Drain it into Withy Brook?
Well, the water's got to go somewhere. But the brook's already carrying a lot, and I'm not sure there might not be trouble further down.
It's not your problem. It's not that big a job.
Oh, isn't it? It's a long time since we've done any draining.
Well, they work very fast these days. Special machinery, pipe-laying machines, the lot.
They? What, you mean drainage contractors?
Well, you weren't thinking of hiring Eddie Grundy and his digger for a week, were you?
Well, of course not.
Phil, it's no use cutting corners on this sort of job.
I'm aware of
And
that.
there are grants for this sort of
But,
job.
Brian, I know what grants are available.
Sorry.
I went into the whole business with the ADAS man last Friday.
Oh, yes. You were a bit worried about your low corn yields.
That and the dairy margins. Anyway, he mentioned a chap called Barrett over at Churcham.
See the same problems?
Not now, he hasn't. He got an FHDS grant last year.
FHDS?
Farm and Horticultural.
Yes, I know what it means, but I thought those grants were for farms that are inefficient and run down.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, that's what I've always understood. Common market money, isn't it?
Oh, some of it.
Oh, well. Well, if it's there for the taking and Brookfield really is run down and
But, Brad,
slipping a bit on its margins, why not?
Well, I might not qualify, of course. And anyway, they're always changing these things. But he left me some bumps to look at.
Well, if you want my advice...
I just wanted to know what you thought about draining this land, that's all.
Well, I've gone in for enough grass, heaven knows. The forms will be endless and incomprehensible and covered with warnings about the fate meted out to those who knowingly or recklessly make false statements.
Recklessly?
Mistakenly. They can be hard men at the ministry.
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot at stake. It'd mean a plan lasting over several years, and I'd have to spend a lot of money, even with the grants. The farm would have to be reorganized from top to bottom.
Look, let's get back to home farm. I'll get out some of the files on the grants I've put in for. They're massive files. They'll put you off applying for grants for years.
Well, thanks.
Honestly, Ava, I just don't know what he's expecting me to do. I mean, it's all very well swigging sherry with the guests for half an hour and giving them the latest on Prince Andrew's social life. But then he suddenly wants me to organise coach parties for a Tyrolean evening.
Tyrolean evening? I don't know why everybody goes on about Tyrolean evenings.
Well, they are fun, aren't they? I once worked in a holiday camp where they had them in the old-time Keller bar.
Now, Bavarian evenings are really something. You go into a Keller bar in Munich. I'm beginning to wish I was in a Keller bar in Munich.
Oh, no, you haven't quarrelled again.
You know, I sometimes think there is not an edible sausage in Borchester. Adam wants bangers all the time. He hasn't ever tasted a real sausage.
Oh, you and James. I should have known from the Wagner.
I think I will go back to Germany. This place is on the rocks. Everybody says so.
I knew there was something the matter with you when I came in.
Oh. Englishmen are nothing to write home about.
When I went on holiday, you and James were like lovebirds twittering in the trees. He saved you from Eddie Grundy, remember?
I sometimes wish he had not bothered.
Oh, Ava.
This country is bad news.
Oh, tell me what happened.
He asked me to dance. Then he changed the date of the dance, and when I could not go, he threw me over.
Oh, well, that wasn't nice.
Then I found out the real truth of the matter. He only wanted to take me in the first place to show his superior officers that he had a steady girlfriend. If he doesn't have a steady girlfriend, they will throw him out of the police house.
What on earth for?
For refusing to get married and settle down.
Oh, I see.
He was using me for his own ends. Oh, he's a very cynical man, I think.
He sounds to me like rather a serious man. Serious about you, I mean.
But he didn't want to take me to the dance for my own sake.
He wanted to show you off as the girl he might marry.
Oh.
Honestly, Ava, you're not very bright, are you?
So, you think that perhaps he...
Hello? Anybody home? Come on in, Phil.
Oh, hello, Mr. Aldrich.
Caroline. Had a nice holiday?
Terrific. I've just been telling Ava all about it.
Oh, and Jill and I went skiing. Whizzed around all over the place.
You must have had more snow than we did.
How's the new job?
Oh, I'm not sure. I go on duty for the first time tonight. It's all a bit odd, to tell you the truth.
I will go and phone him. I will go and phone him now.
What?
I will explain everything.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, Ava. Be subtle.
She's not calling Germany, I hope.
No, only James.
Ah, that's back on again, is it? Sit yourself down, Phil.
Thanks.
Have you had some tea, Caroline?
Yes, thanks. Actually, I must be going.
Well, don't dash off because of that.
Oh, I have to go, really. I've got to dress to kill, check the sherry, and probably stuff the olives. Bye.
Aye.
Aye.
I don't know. The life some people lead, eh?
You know Shula's still working as a barmaid.
It's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, apparently...
And she's going out with Neil again. If you could have seen her making up her face with turquoise eye paint.
Phil, we were talking about Brookfield's eligibility. Earned income being the crucial factor.
Here it is. The EC Directive on Farm Modernisation 72/159. Earned income for the purpose of this scheme is taken to be the revenue of the business, including net inventory changes and farmhouse consumption, less remuneration of capital invested in the business and reasonable charges and expenses.
Look, why don't I get a few cans of beer out, and then we'll start at the beginning.
I think she's feeling a bit uneasy at the moment, Tom, but she'll settle down soon enough.
Oh, I'm sure. She's a very pleasant girl.
It's the way she's been brought up. If you're born with a background, you've a lot to be pleasant about.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's more a question of character. I've come across plenty of rich folk with black tempers and mean habits.
I'm not just talking about money, Tom. I'm talking about family tradition. A man who's had to claw his way up from the bottom's bound to be a bit of a rough diamond. I'm a bit of one myself.
Oh, I wouldn't say
I'm
that, sir.
telling you. The sharp side to my character might well be hidden nowadays, but it's there.
Oh, if you say so.
I can never forget my early days, Tom. Caroline Bone didn't have to sell newspapers outside New Street Station when she was 10 years old.
No, I don't suppose she did. I'm not absolutely sure what she's going to do at Grey Gables, though. Apart from bringing a touch of class to the place, of course.
You needn't put it like that, Tom. You must try not to be a snob.
Hey? Oh,
Caroline will be my personal assistant, if things work out well.
I see.
You and George are fine on the shoot itself, but when it comes to entertaining important guests and arranging conferences and such like for foreigners...
Oh, I can see she might be useful.
Anyway, I mustn't linger. Tell Higgs I had to take one or two of his blooms from the greenhouse, will you?
His blooms?
Those orange chrysanthemums.
Not his prize exhibits.
Only half a dozen, and I'm sure he won't mind. I wanted them to make a bit of a splash in Caroline's bedroom.
Oh.
Lord Netherbourne's a chrysanthemum fiend, so I thought she'd be interested in seeing them. She was quite impressed. Thinks he might pop over one day to see us.
Jim, good heavens.
Oh, hello. Look, I'm sorry about this. I only wanted a quick word with Mr. Woolley.
Oh, he's not here, so they put you onto me instead. I don't know why. They keep putting people onto me when he's not here.
It's just that I've spotted two of those gypsies coming out of the country park with their arms full of holly.
Well, it is the season.
I know that. And I wasn't going to stop them, not after what happened last time with George Barford and Joe Grundy.
Have you spoken to Ava?
Ava?
She was trying to get you on the phone.
Well, never mind Ava.
Oh, but you must. You should. You do.
Caroline, if those gypsies have been
Oh, of
authorized...
course they haven't, but everybody pinches holly at this time of year.
Not to sell in Borchester Market.
Oh, Jim, please. This is my first day. I'm supposed to be having sherry with the guests, but only one of them's come down. And he's knocking it back like a fish, and I can't think of anything to say to him.
Caroline? Coverdale. Is something the matter?
Oh, Mr. Woolley. Yes, some gypsies have been nicking your holly.
Can't sound surprised. I wish you wouldn't come into the main club in your uniform, Coverdale.
I'm sorry.
It's a bad impression. We'll talk about gypsies tomorrow, if you don't mind. I'm due to have a drink with my guests.
There's only one of them.
One?
So far, look, in the sitting room. We haven't been charging him for the sherry, by the way. I hope that's all right.
Good heavens, I don't believe it.
I thought we could add it onto the bill.
It's Nelson. Nelson Gabriel.
Nelson? I thought he'd taken his dad to the Canary Islands.
He did. So what's he doing here in my sitting room?
Just finishing the Amontillado, actually.
It seems they got back about 5 o'clock. Gran was just making tea when there was a knock on the door and there stood Walter.
Did he have a nice time?
I expect so. I'm doing Meals on Wheels today, so I better take him some dinner.
I shouldn't think he'll need it with Nelson around. They'll probably wine and dine every day at Grey Gables.
Yes, well, that's where Nelson's staying. No goodness knows how long for. Hurry up, Shula. I've got to clear the breakfast things away.
Sorry.
I don't know, keeping barmaid hours.
That's because I am a barmaid. I'd have got up to milk the cows if anyone had asked.
I'll bet.
Oh, watch out. That's my money. Oh, you've mixed my 1p's up with my 2p's.
I don't know what you're doing with so much copper and silver. Look as if you've raided Elizabeth's piggy bank.
These are my tips.
Tips? Do barmaids get tips? I thought that was waitresses.
Well, these are my free drinks, really. Every time somebody says, get one in for yourself, darling, I put 20 pence in a little glass jar and go on drinking the same fruit juice I had before.
Good heavens. And you got all that last night?
It's not much.
I don't know, 20, 40, 60.
Well, it's certainly not enough. Not by a long chalk.
Surely you don't need money. You don't spend any money.
I daren't. I hope nobody's expecting much in the way of Christmas presents this year, Mum.
Of course not. But Shula...
I save all my wages from the bull. I put all my tips on one side. I've only been to the coffee shop in Borchester once since I got back. And if you knew how I'd been dreaming about their room barbers all the way across
Shula, what's the
Anglia.
money for?
What?
Why are you saving up?
Well, things.
Your dad told me you made some sort of mysterious remark to him on Friday.
I said he'd be a bit less pompous about my being a barmaid if he knew what I wanted the money for.
That's what people call a mysterious remark.
Oh. Dad's very hard up at the moment, isn't he?
Well, you know as well as I do. There's the mortgage on the 30 acres. There's some scheme we might go in for that'll cost thousands and thousands.
Yes, all right. You needn't go on.
Shula, you don't mean to tell me you're... No, of course not. What a ridiculous idea.
What is?
Well, you're not worried about the farm. You're not saving because we've got all these loans to pay off.
Of course I'm not.
Oh.
My £1.40 in tips wouldn't go very far, would it?
No, dear, not very far at all. Pass me a plate. If you want to keep secrets from your mother, I can't stop you. I never kept secrets from my mother.
Perhaps you didn't have any worth keeping.
Do you know, I'm beginning to wish you'd never come home.
You don't look very brown, Walter.
No, well, I stayed sit out in the sun very often. We was a long way from the Plage this time.
Do you call it the Plage on the Canary Islands?
I don't know. I never got near enough to find out.
What? But you must have gone down to the beach, Walter.
Well, we drove past it after we left the airport, and then again when we went back to the airport.
But you were there weeks and weeks.
Well, Nelson said he couldn't face the tourists. He's got tired of living it up in big hotels and going out to fancy restaurants. Sophisticated travellers like Nelson gets weary of high living, you know.
Is that why he's staying at Grey Gables?
Oh, well, he's just being considerate towards his old dad.
I see.
Was a nice village we stayed in. And we used to go downstairs to the cafe under our little flat, and I used to play drafts with the old chap who ran the petrol station.
Hello? Anybody in there?
Nelson! Yeah, of course I'm in here. Come on in, Nelson, me boy.
Hello, Dad. Mrs. Archer, nice to see you.
Hello, Nelson. Your dad's been telling me about your holiday.
Good. We had a splendid time, didn't we, Dad?
Oh, I sit down, Nelson. There's some tea just made.
No thanks. It can't be far off lunchtime.
Oh, was you wanting to eat something here?
I thought I might join you for a bite, yes.
Oh, dear.
What's the matter, Walter? Haven't you got anything?
I was going to pop out to Martha's, but then Jill sent a message.
Oh, don't worry, Dad, if you made other arrangements. It's a long time since we've seen each other, Mrs. Archer. Several years, I should think.
Yes. You don't seem to have changed.
My Nelson looks after himself.
I'd like you to know I'm very grateful to everyone in the village who keeps Dad company and looks after him when I'm not here.
That's most of the time.
I hope to be around rather more in the future than I've been in the past.
Oh, Nelson might even settle in these parts. He's looking into various business propositions.
Oh. Is that why you're staying at Grey Gables?
Exactly. I even put up with that appallingly rich and vulgar cooking. That chef seems to garnish every single dish with fruit salad. Last night there was orange floating in the soup, gooseberries smothering the duck.
Hello, I'm here, Walter. Get your knife and fork at the ready. Oh, hello. You having a party?
Yeah, I come in, Jill. Hey, you knows my boy Nelson?
Yes, of course. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Well, I must be going to get Dan's dinner. It was interesting to hear about your holiday, Walter.
I'll give you a lift back to Glebe Cottage if you like, Mum.
Oh, thanks.
Here you are, Walter. Eat it while it's hot.
Oh, lovely grub, eh? What is it today, then?
Irish stew.
Oh.
Then there's stewed apples and custard for pudding. Containers 1, 2, and 3.
Bye-bye then, Walter. We'll be seeing you, I expect, Nelson.
Oh, yes, indeed. I must call in for tea one day.
Look, I've got to rush. I'll call back later for the containers, if that's all right. Nelson, you can help your dad, can't you?
Yes, of course. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, look at this. Oh, and there's plenty for two. The Irish stew always seems to stretch somehow.
Yes. Shall I get you a plate, or do you want to eat it out of that container?
You can fetch 2 plates, Nelson.
I don't think I'm quite old enough for meals on wheels, Dad, but I'll get you a spoon, and you haven't got a tin of ham or anything. You can see where they hacked the holly away, sir. If they'd used secateurs, we probably wouldn't have noticed.
We didn't notice. Coverdale told us. But it's vandalism, pure and simple. Vandalism and theft.
Well, gypsies always seem to cause trouble one way or another.
I've a good mind to send John Trigger on a bill. He's the one who brought them to the village when all's said.
You going to ask Jim Coverdale to look into it?
Caroline's been to see him this morning. I don't want to appear harsh, but property's property.
I spoke to Higgs about the chrysanthemums.
Altar. I must admit I did feel a bit guilty about pinching his best blooms like that. But I knew Caroline would be pleased, and I felt sure he wouldn't mind, really.
Well, he said he'd promised them to a friend of his for Christmas.
Oh? Not that widow from Hollerton Junction.
Oh, I expect so.
Extraordinary how faithful he's been to that woman. I'll have a word with him, Tom. Butter him up a bit.
It might be as well. He was threatening to cut every bloom off and shift his plants out when I saw him this morning.
He better not try. I don't want any upsets if Lord Netherbourne's going to call round and see us. You tell him straight from me.
Hello, Mr. Woolley.
Oh, Caroline.
Gosh, I'm puffed out. It's terrible.
You make a charming picture. Quite like something out of Vogue in those furry boots.
Thank you. Oh, dear. Too much at-praise skiing, not enough skiing. That's been my trouble. Hello, Mr. Forrest.
Caroline, Mr. Woolley says you've been sorting out our gypsies for us.
Yes, at least, well, you didn't give me very precise instructions, Mr. Woolley.
I left you to your own judgment, on which I rely entirely, Caroline. Prosecute them or move them on, I don't mind.
Well, we went down to their caravans and had a chat.
A chat?
They're very sorry, but they didn't think they were doing any harm.
Oh, didn't they indeed?
Coverdale wasn't soft on them, was he?
It was extraordinarily rude, actually.
Oh?
He kept calling the man chummy. Don't give me that, chummy, he kept saying. I told them they ought to complain to the chief constable.
You did what?
Well, this is England. Just because they're living in the caravan doesn't mean he can't call them sir, does it?
Call him sir? That lot?
Well, he could always use a sarcastic tone of voice.
You've led a sheltered life, Caroline. I don't suppose you've ever seen Sturchley on a Saturday night.
Oh, look, Mr. Woolley, it was just a few sprigs of holly.
My holly.
You've plenty more.
That's not the point.
Well, I'm sorry, but our place swarms with kids from the village at this time of year. It's an annual event, pinching holly from the grounds of the manor.
Stealing, Caroline.
Yes, all right, Tom. There's no need to go on about it.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Anyway, they've promised not to do it again. I think Jim wanted to brand them with red-hot irons, but I wouldn't let him.
Pity. I mean, Coverdale probably doesn't understand our country traditions. I don't suppose your Uncle fusses over a bit of holly, eh?
I bet he does. He's incredibly mean.
Oh. Well, as Tom says, stealing is stealing. Come on, we better get back to the house.
Right.
Don't forget you was going to talk to Higgins about those chrysanthemums, sir.
Eh? Oh, yes.
Oh, dear, don't say there's trouble over those flowers you gave me.
It seems I cut off one or two of his prized blooms, and now he's jumping up and down like a madman.
Oh, poor Mr. Higgs.
It's not as if he hasn't got plenty more of the things. Some people make a fuss just for the sake of it.
Of course, he always was a peculiar sort of boy.
Peculiar, Gran? How do you mean peculiar?
Well, he always kept to himself. Then he went off to do his national service and ended up a flight sergeant. That was what gave him a taste for the high life.
Do you really think so?
Oh, yes. He stayed on in the Air Force, you see, and they sent him abroad. He had a tax-free allowance, and he used to bring nylons and bottles of scent home for the girls.
Good old Nelson.
He was a bit of a teddy boy.
Oh, I'll be asleep in a minute. When did you have the clock mended?
It's never been broken. Your granddad just keeps forgetting to wind it up. I don't know if it's good for you working such late hours, Shula.
I've got to make the money, Gran.
Haven't you owned up to your dad yet?
No. He might shout and hit me.
Oh, it doesn't do to put things off. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A brave man dies but once.
I don't actually want to die at all.
How much are you managing to save?
About £15 a week. It'll mount up if only I'm given time.
I remember a girl called Kitty used to sing songs. It was in the old days when the Bull was quite a rough sort of pub.
Oh, yes.
She could make 10 shillings a night, I believe. She'd sing a song and men would put sixpences down her... Well, never mind where they put it.
It sounds very wicked.
Just down the lane, over the stile, under the old oak tree. That was what she used to sing.
Oh, yes. When the clock strikes 9 and the stars brightly shine, there's somebody waiting for me.
Oh, it is a real favourite, that was.
And the old favourites are always the best, aren't they?
Yes.
Do you know, Gran, you've given me an idea.
Are you nearly through, Jethro?
Just a couple more minutes, Master Phil.
Oh, they seem a bit restless.
Been looking all morning. But if they're restless now, you don't know how they'll feel by next April. Well, they got to stay in here till then, whether they look it or no.
Well, I hope we're not giving them too much feed.
Oh, you couldn't say. I give them what I'm told. It's you and Graham what sets the figures.
Yes, well, that'll all have to be looked into.
Oh.
I wanted a word about one or two things. Let's sit down here for a few minutes.
Oh, well, I wouldn't mind a fag if it's all right with you.
Go ahead. Oh, it's quite pleasant out here. The sun's a bit watery, but it's quite warm.
Very enjoyable. I don't know what makes folks so restless. I really don't.
Folk? I was talking about the cows.
Well, it's everybody and everything as far as I can see. The world's mad about change these days.
Sometimes change is inevitable.
I don't see why. Look at my Clary. What good does it do her keep chopping and changing?
How's she getting on at the Bull?
Oh, terrible.
Oh, dear.
She had all these fancy ideas about being made manageress of the plain ones. But now your Shula's gone and shoved her back into the public.
Oh, surely not. You know, we must be feeding those cows too much. They're absolutely full of beans.
Ah, it's the sunshine on their backside, her say. It's shining down through their slats and making them frisky.
Oh, well, if we sit out here for 10 minutes, it might do the same for you.
Pardon?
Buck your ideas up. Oh, well, perhaps not. But the fact is, Jethro, there might well be some changes round here, and as you're the senior man on the farm...
Am I?
Well, you've worked here longest.
Oh, I thought you was offering me the foreman's job and an extra £5 a week for a minute.
I'll stay my own foreman, thank you very much.
I suppose you were talking about those 30 acres. Well, I know you bought them, if that's what you're trying to say.
It's what we're going to do with them. What we're going to do with the whole farm, for that matter. It's possible I might decide to go in for an FHDS grant.
Oh, yes?
I know you don't appreciate what that means.
Ain't the foggiest idea.
Well, it's a socio-economic scheme, funded to some extent with EEC money.
Is it?
It's designed to help farmers who have an income below the non-agricultural average to earn more.
Did you say farmers or farm workers?
Well, it's the farm as a whole, really. But everyone benefits, of course, in the long run. The more profitable farms are, the more they can afford to pay their workers.
Oh, you mean the common market are going to give you some money?
Grants towards improvement.
And then you're going to put their wages up?
Well, no, at least not directly. No, it's a socio-economic scheme to raise the average profitability of farms in general. Wage rates will still have to be negotiated nationally.
I see.
Well, I just thought I'd tell you I was thinking about it.
Thanks very much, Master Phil.
I might not be eligible, of course.
I expect you will if you think's hard enough. Well, I'll go and clear that muck out of the cow sheds now then, shall I?
As far as I'm concerned, they've brought nothing but trouble from the moment they arrived.
Oh, I know, James. It's very difficult for you.
On the one side, there's your friend Caroline accusing me of fascist brutality just because I won't call them sir.
She can be a very stupid girl sometimes.
And on the other side, Mrs. Harvey and her committee of village crones are demanding that I boot them out of Ambridge forthwith.
She is an evil woman. You like your bangers to be well cooked, I think.
Eh? Well, fairly crisp.
Adam likes them black all over. I'm afraid I've got into the habit.
Oh, they look delicious.
Good old British bangers, eh? They are very good. Oh, we have nothing like the good old British banger in Germany.
Well, you'll have to take some back with you.
Take some back? But I am not going back, James. I have told you I'm not going back.
Well, you'll have to go back one day. I never did look into the matter of your work permit now, did I?
And do you really want to look into it, James?
Not really. Can you pass the ketchup?
Of course.
Thanks. You're turning into a pretty good cook, Eva.
As long as I stay clear of cakes.
Yeah, you said it. It was a very nice surprise, coming back and finding you waiting. I was pretty worn out, I can tell you.
Are you going to make the gypsies move to somewhere else?
No, I haven't got the authority. They're camping on the Tregorans' land. The excise licenses on their vehicles are up to date. Their kids aren't going to school, of course, but it's a waste of time chasing that one.
Oh, poor James.
There's one thing, anyway. They won't move back onto that triangular verge. The council have dumped a load of gravel on it.
Well, that was a clever idea.
Yeah, not mine, unfortunately. This sort of thing's happened before. You can go around the county, tracking tinkers from gravel heap to gravel heap.
James, when you found me sitting on your doorstep with a packet of sausages and a bag of donuts, did you not wonder what I was doing here?
Well, I fell back on my detective training and decided, in view of the evidence, that you had come to cook my lunch.
Yes, but did you not think, hello, what have we here? Eva and I are no longer friends.
It crossed my mind that the donuts might have been injected with arsenic instead of jam.
You did not think that perhaps I had forgiven you?
I knew that already. Caroline told me.
Oh. But you did not think to say you were sorry and glad to have me back?
Well, I am sorry about the upset, of course. And it is nice to see you.
Oh, James.
In fact, it was quite lonely over the weekend. Nobody to talk to but myself.
James, when I've washed the dishes, shall we go for a ride in your police car and then go back to Home Farm to tea?
Why not? We can go past the gypsy camp. They'll think you're a school's attendance officer, and that'll give them a real fright.
Chloe! Hey, Chloe!
Afternoon. Not bad, is it? Quite a change, really. What are you doing? Feeding the ducks? That's right. Gosh, they look appreciative. Gobbling away. I wonder why they never quack. I don't think they're the quacking sort. Oh, perhaps not. I've just been out riding for an hour. It was glorious. Really? Chris lets me have a horse on tick. She's supposed to be totting it all up, but I don't expect she will. That's nice. Come on, ducks. Duck, 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 duck. Duck, duck. That one's a drake. I know it's a drake. I'm not stupid. No, of course not. Oh dear, that bit of pie sank before he got to it. Are you criticising my pastry? What? No, of course I'm not. I followed the recipe for a raised pie, just like it said in the book. I don't know why it turned out the way it did. Is that the pork pie you made yesterday? What's left of it. We sold 2 slices at lunchtime. One bloke complained and the other walked out. Oh well, it happens to the best of us. You coming in tonight then? Yes. I'm coming in every night this week.
That's nice.
Isn't it? Oh, look. That duck swallowed some pie and sunk.
That does it.
Only a joke. He's diving for crumbs, that's all.
My pastry is not heavy.
Of course it isn't. Oh, Clary, for goodness sake, don't be so sensitive. You're a terrific cook.
No, I'm not.
All right, you're not. But I wish you'd stop being so rude. I'm not after your job. I don't want to work in the ploughman's and do the cooking.
Oh, no. Well, that's what Sid wants you to do.
He's going to be unlucky then, isn't he? I'd much sooner be in the public. I need the tips.
In most hotels and things, the staff share out the gratuities.
What?
You heard.
Well, there's only the two of us, and I don't ask for a share of the tips you get when you're serving meals.
I don't get very many.
Oh.
But then I don't wear a low-cut blouse either.
Clary!
I ought to be going now. I didn't mean that to be as unkind as it sounded.
I should jolly well hope not.
Hello, Shula. Clary.
Afternoon, Mrs. Archer.
It's turned out quite nice, hasn't it?
For a little while. Anyway, I gotta go and get me dad's tea. Bye. Bye, Shula.
Bye, Clary.
That duck looks a bit peculiar. Why is it jabbing its head backwards and forwards?
It's been eating Clary's pastry.
Oh. I'm glad I've seen you, Shula. I was thinking about pubs in the old days last night, and I remembered all about Dora.
Another singing barmaid?
Oh, no. It was Dora that stopped people drinking all hours of the day and night. And I think it was Dora that banned people from buying each other drinks. Treating, it used to be called.
She must have been a popular lady.
The Defence of the Realm Act, 1917. That was Dora. Before then, the Bull used to be open at 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes, when the hay wagons came through on their way to Borchester. And it never used to close during the day at all.
Goodness. Hey, I'm going to take my guitar down to the Bull tonight. Do what Kitty did.
Won't Sid and Polly mind?
They think it's a great idea. I expect Clary will throw poison darts at me from the ploughman's, but she'll do that anyway.
Shula, I wish you'd tell your dad about the money.
I will. I just thought if I could earn a bit, help pay some of it off.
But he'll be so hurt and upset when he finds out you were frightened to tell him about it.
Frightened? I'm not frightened, Gran. Not really.
Well, yes, I know it must have gone up since last time. But how much?
Hello, Dad, I'm back. Oh, sorry.
Yes, I appreciate we can get the VAT back, but those rolls of wire were £12 odd a couple of months ago. All right, 6 months ago. But they still shouldn't have gone up anything like that.
I'll come back in a bit.
No, hang on, I want a word. All right, I want 3 rolls. Someone will come in and pick them up tomorrow, all right? Right, bye-bye.
I brought you a mug of tea.
Oh, thanks. Oh, we don't seem to have seen much of each other lately. I hope you don't think I object to you working down at the Bull. I know I was a bit disparaging when you sprang it on us, but, well, shows initiative.
Thanks.
And I know you're hard up and saving for something.
Yes. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Shula, I'm sorry, it's no use.
I'm not asking for money, Dad.
Well, you can't have it. We shall be eating turnip soup for Christmas dinner if the bank doesn't get a move on over your traveller's checks. How long did they say it'd take?
A month to 6 weeks. But there won't actually be very much, so it's no use you counting on it.
Say that again?
I didn't have £500 worth of cheques at all.
But when you came back, you said...
No, I didn't, Dad. You did.
How much did you have?
130.
130?
That's why I had to take a job in Bangkok. I was going to come back overland again.
What happened to the rest of the money?
It went. It just went.
Oh, Shula.
Oh, Dad, I'll get it back. I'll save up and pay every penny back. Honestly, I will.
Go on, sit yourself then and have a glass of beer, Neil.
I thought we were going down to the Bull.
There's plenty of time for that. Now, Neil, the reason I came over to Olivetree and asked you if you'd come over here was quite simple.
Is this going to take long, Jethro?
Aye.
I've done an hour's overtime and I'm starving hungry.
Can't you stop thinking about your stomach for 5 minutes?
Well, you had your tea. Pudding as well, by the look of that plate.
Neil, we have got trouble coming at Brookfield, and there's no getting away from it.
What do you mean, trouble?
I feel sorry for you, lad. You come as an apprentice, and I showed you all I knew. And now I feel sorry for you.
Why?
You'll find out soon enough. In all my years working for Master Phil and his dad afore him, I've never heard of anything like it.
Like what?
You wait till I tell you.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, there isn't any of that left, I don't suppose.
Hey?
That pudding. I gave you half my steak and mushroom pie on Monday, and I got to eat something.
All right, all right. Clary! You there, Clary?
What do you want?
Another go at that pudding, if you don't mind.
Pudding? You can't have any more pudding.
There you are. Now look what you have done.
You've had 2 goes at it already, you greedy old devil.
It's for Neil here. He's heard all about your famous cooking, and he's come over to try it out.
I was just a bit hungry, that was all.
Well, I don't know what we'll have tomorrow if you start eating our food up, Neil.
Look, it doesn't matter.
Clary, you get it for him. And don't call me an old devil. You're too cheeky behalf, you are.
I know. You keep telling me.
This young lad needs building up. He's in for a shock in a minute.
Look, it's all right,
I'll
really.
get it. But it's no use you asking for custard, because that's all gone.
She gets more like her mother every day.
Yeah.
Now, Neil, as I was saying, Master Phil took me on one side this morning and told me there was going to be lots of changes at Brookfield.
Well, he was just passing the time of day, I expect.
What? When has Master Phil ever took you away from your work just to sit on a box smoking a fag to pass the time of day?
Well, it does seem a bit odd.
It means trouble for us, you'll see. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he turned the whole farm over to sunflowers, or leafless peas, or another of those daft new crops. And that'd mean a sack for you, Neil.
Eh?
And Graham. It wouldn't take more than me and Fred to grow sunflowers. They crush 'em, you know, to get the oil out.
I know what sunflowers are for.
Well, I just thought I ought to warn you, Neil.
Oh, thanks. Very thoughtful of you, Jethro, but I don't see why I should be the one getting the sack.
Well, you're the youngest.
But you're the bloke he took onto one side.
What's that?
Here you are, Neil.
I've given you some cream from the top of the
Oh,
milk.
thanks, Clary. That looks lovely, that does.
Sorry I'm late, Sid. I got held up.
Dear, stand and deliver, eh? Your money or your whatever.
Well, I've got no money, that's for sure.
Good heavens.
Are you all right?
Oh, yes, you look very fetching tonight, Shula. It's amazing how effective a plain pair of jeans and a simple little blouse can be.
Thank you, kind sir.
Yes. Well, I've stocked you up with fruit juices and tonics, and I'll get you another dozen lagers for the cold tray.
Sid, I brought my guitar.
Have you?
It's in the car outside. Shall I bring it in?
I don't know, Shula.
Oh, Sid.
It never really worked when we had Wayne Tewson, the singing oilman, on Friday evenings. He just filled the place up with the Hibbert and Yobbos and Eddie Grundy. And our regulars all complained.
Sid, you can't compare me to Wayne Tewson.
Oh, well, I'm not saying it to be exactly the same, of course. In fact, you look quite different.
Just give me a chance, that's all I'm asking. You thought it was a great idea yesterday.
I've had a think since then. You are supposed to be working as a barmaid, Shula.
And I'm offering to provide live entertainment without you paying a penny extra.
But the rest of us will be rushed off our feet.
And Polly doesn't mind.
There's more than Polly to consider.
I see. It's Clary, isn't it?
Well, she can be a bit sensitive. She is our permanent barmaid, Shula.
Yes, all right. It's up to you.
Perhaps some other time.
Let me get behind the bar, Sid. And you'll have to bring more than a dozen lagers for the cold tray. We ran out by 9 o'clock last night.
I thought I'd come round and tell you. I've worked all the figures out, and I simply don't qualify.
Oh, are you sure?
Oh, certain. I don't have to be pleased or sorry. It means I can't get in on the scheme, of course, but at least it proves that Brookfield isn't inefficient and down at heel.
Let's have a look.
Actually, it was a bit of a cheek, that ADAS blighter, suggesting it in the first place, just because of a slight fall in the corn yields and some indifferent dairy performances for a month or two.
Let me get this right. You've got to maximise the number of hours worked at Brookfield in relation to the farm income.
Well, it's not a question of maximising them, it's a question of putting down what actually happens. We're just too efficient to qualify for an FHDS grant.
You mean you're on the borderline?
Well, all right, we're on the borderline.
And of course, it depends on whether you want all that government and common market money or not. But if, say, you were to put Jill down for a 40-hour week...
Jill, 40 hours?
Answering the phone, dealing with reps, feeding the cars.
Once in a blue moon.
Who's to know that? And there we are. What about that, then?
Shula, 15 hours unpaid work.
Assistant farm secretary. We all know Pauline can't cope.
No, but Shula doesn't...
Could make just the difference.
Yes, you know. Shula putting in 15 hours a week unpaid work's quite a good idea.
Well, she wouldn't actually have to do it, of course.
Oh, yes, she would, Brian. As you say, there's office work and feeding the calves and mucking them out now and again. That's a pretty miserable job these cold mornings.
But I'm sure nobody's going to actually check.
We've got to play fair and square, Brian. I can't put in for a grant like this under false pretenses.
Singapore for 2 years. It must have been marvellous.
Yes, I was stationed at Changi, but I managed to get about quite a bit. KL, Penang.
I was in Bangkok till quite recently.
Sure, love. Point of usual when you're ready.
Please. City of opportunity, I've always been led to believe.
You bet. I just fixed up a terrific job selling English language records around the Chinese Quarter when somebody pinched all my luggage.
Oh, dear.
I was in one of those sleazy little hotels on Ramaphore Avenue, so I suppose it was my own fault. But those places are so cheap.
Shula, can I speak to you for a minute?
Sorry,
I once knew a man who did quite well in Bangkok, selling real estate in Florida to American servicemen.
The Yanks have gone now pretty well. It's been terrible for the massage parlours.
Shula, Sid says he won't let you play your guitar in here because of me.
That's right. He thinks you might sulk.
Won't anybody serve a thirsty man then?
Uncle Tom.
There used to be a lucrative trade in Thai silks at one time.
Oh, aren't they beautiful? I wanted to bring loads back, but of course I was penniless.
I've told him I don't mind.
Really?
There, Thai silks, Florida real estate. Ah, the dear dead days beyond recall.
Well, I'm going back. One day I'm going back. And it won't be a very distant day either if things go on in the way they have been.
What's up? Ain't anybody
Shula, he says you can do
I
it.
don't know what's happening.
What did you say?
He says you can play your guitar. I told him it was me not to let you.
Jethro, get up.
He really said he didn't mind.
He says you can dance on the tables if I promise to leave him alone.
Larry, come here and get me a drink.
Larry, thanks. I'll go and get my guitar.
Oh, come on.
Let's get a bit of service.
Back in a minute.
Hey, where's she going there?
I suppose there must be quite a lot of real estate in Florida still waiting for eager buyers.
I wouldn't know, Mr. Gabriel.
Oh, Nelson, please. I'll have another vodka and orange.
Vodka and orange, right you are.
Ain't anybody gonna serve us then?
All right. No need to shout the house down. I'm coming, aren't I?
You know, this place seems much rowdier than I remember it being. It's almost as bad as the Cattle Triple.
I tried to tell Jethro something about the scheme earlier today, but he simply wasn't interested.
It's not really going to affect him, though, is it?
Well, in the long term, if we go in for new crops like black currants and field vegetables, it's going to mean new machinery and new expertise.
Poor old Jethro.
Oh, he'll cope. I just wish he'd show a bit of enthusiasm now and then. All he cared about was the effect on his wage packet.
Well, you can't blame him, really. Anyway, when are you having another talk with the ADAS man?
Oh, end of next week. It looks if I could qualify for a grant, though, on the basis of those figures. Dog fox on the prowl.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 about. They're after what must be a particularly attractive vixen. Frightened David to death the other night. That's her.
It's a bit weird for a love call.
Have to get the hunt round again. Well, how's Shula getting on at the bull, by the way?
Oh, she seems to be taking it in her stride. I thought I might look in, actually.
What? Well, if you're going to drink my scotch and then go off on a pub crawl...
Oh, just look in to see how she is. Matter of fact, I'm feeling a bit guilty. I blew my top over those damn traveller's checks and she went off in tears.
Oh, yes.
Well, you know Shula. She gets so miserable and upset when we quarrel. Really tears your heart out just to look at her. She's probably brooding behind the bar and upsetting all the customers.
Jackie boy, singing well, very well. Hey down, oh down, derry, derry down. Among the leaves so green.
Then make him do with keg. Mr. Gabriel wants another vodka and orange.
Nelson, please. I suppose you can cash a check for me, Sid.
A check? Yeah, I suppose. Do you want ice in it?
I think not. Marriage 30, all right, Phil?
30? God, you must be buying some expensive rounds.
When did I last buy a cheap one? Let's see, it is the 12th, isn't it? Hey, down, who down?
And I tell you, we're heading for big trouble.
No, forget it, Jethro. I'm trying to listen to Shula.
It's no good you chasing after her again.
I'm not chasing her.
I've seen you looking at her. When blokes in the army looked at girls like that, the sergeant major used to put something in their tea.
Eh?
Anyway, you wouldn't be at Brookfield long enough to chase her. When bosses talk about socio-economic plans, it means the dole for somebody.
Shut up, Jethro.
Don't you tell me.
Evening, Mr. Archer. Mr. Aldridge.
Hello, Neil. What on earth's going on?
I thought Shula was supposed to be slumped over the bar, proud, down with misery.
It's incredible. Uncle Tom as well.
I was telling Neil about your plans, Master Phil.
What? Oh, I'm glad you're interested, Jethro.
Sunflowers, is it, Master Phil?
Same again, everybody. Fine, Phil.
Oh, yeah, thanks. What do you mean, sunflowers?
I had a feeling it might be sunflowers, that's all.
Jethro's gone a bit potty. He thinks everything's going to be changed at Brookfield.
Not sunflowers. I'm thinking more in terms of black currants at the moment. Anyway, excuse me, will you? I want a word with Shula.
Blackcurrants? I'd start packing me bags if I was you, Neil.
Oh, hello, Dad.
Shula, that was very good. I called to say forget about the money from the traveller's checks. You're only young ones when all's said and... well...
Oh, Dad!
Well, go on, we're waiting.
I've been a wild lover for many a long year. I've spent all my money in whiskey and beer. But now I'm resolved to do so no more. I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never no more. Will I play the wild rover? No, never no more.
He's coming. He has left his car and he's coming. Oh, Caroline, he's coming up the hill to us.
Can you pass me the secateurs, Ava?
He's coming through the bracken and the wet leaves with no thought for his shoes.
Ava, I can't hold this branch forever.
Oh, sorry.
If you could grab hold of the end and bend it over, I can cut the holly off without any trouble.
Doesn't he look smart in his uniform? Oh, I like a man wearing a smart uniform.
Yes, well, you would, Ava. But can't you be just a bit less, well, obvious?
But I have a very open nature.
It doesn't do to wear your heart on your sleeve. You ought to let him chase after you and play hard to get now and again.
Oh, yes, I know.
Right, you can let go now.
I don't want him to think I am a pushover.
Oh, just try and be a little more cool, that's all.
I will try.
Hello there!
Oh, James! Hello, James! How are you? Are you coming to help us with the holly?
Oh, Ava.
I thought it was my duty to investigate.
Oh, it's very nice to see you.
Make sure you've got authorization for chopping Mr. Woolley's holly bush to bits.
It's to decorate the country club.
As you knew all the time.
Not at all. You could have been planning to flog it all off to a consortium of wicked gypsies.
Oh, James.
Well, since that display of sympathy for them from you, Caroline,
I hope you're not accusing me of
you might actually be one of them for all I know.
What?
James.
Yes. It will just like the wicked gypsies to plant one of their number at Grey Gables, masquerading as Lord Netherbourne's relative.
Now listen, Chummy.
Eh?
Those poor gypsies, Chummy, are just ordinary people who deserve to be treated with a bit of common courtesy by flat-footed policemen.
Caroline.
Hey, steady on. I was only joking.
There's nothing funny about people who've only got caravans to live in and nowhere proper to stay being insulted and abused by so-called public servants.
Look, it's the taxpayer who pays my wages, and gypsies don't pay taxes.
James, now, Caroline, I will not have you quarreling like this. I'm being so childish.
Well, he started it, Ava.
No, I didn't.
Oh, here. Grab hold of this.
Ow! Careful! It's prickly.
So are you. Put it over there in a pile. Mr. Higgs is going to come for it later.
I don't know. I only stopped to pass the time of day.
Caroline, you should not talk to him like that.
Why not? You ought to hear the way he talks to people sometimes.
Nothing all that terrible about calling somebody chummy.
There is when it's an old man and you're being rude just because he's poor and can't stand up to you.
That's ridiculous.
Now, this is all very silly. I don't know what you're being so silly about.
You call Mr. Woolley sir, don't you?
No, I don't. I call him Mr. Woolley.
Well, you don't call him chummy or mate or laddie or anything patronising like that.
Well, I might.
Oh, go on then, because it's just coming.
Dear James, I am so sorry.
It's all right, Ava. We in the force are used to having brickbats hurled at us by the people we're paid to protect.
Oh, honestly.
Hello. This all looks very jolly, I must say.
Hello.
Gathering in the evergreens to deck the festival.
Mr. Higgs has been rather busy. Ava and I have been helping him.
Coverdale as well, I see. Hope those gypsies haven't come back, Coverdale.
Not that I know of. Anyway, I mustn't stand around chatting. Can I give you a lift back to the village, Ava?
Oh, yes. Thank you, James. That would be very nice.
Come on, then. Well, cheerio, Caroline.
Goodbye, chummy.
Yes. Cheerio, Squire.
Cheerio, Coverdale.
Oh, really?
I will see you another day, Caroline.
I'll let you know if I spot those gypsies near the country park again, Squire.
Right you are, Coverdale. Good man, that.
He's too big for his boots, if you ask me.
Perhaps, but he's got intelligence and judgment. He's only been in the village a few months, but he already knows what's what in these parts. Now, can I have a quick word with you about Nelson Gabriel?
Oh, him. He's a bit smooth, isn't he?
He's a slippery customer, and I don't like the way he keeps chatting up the other guests.
Well, perhaps it's not a terribly good idea to have sherry in the residence sitting room each evening.
It's a wonderful idea. A bottle of sherry's neither here nor there if it makes them feel at home.
But it doesn't. Those Americans kept pleading for dry martinis last night, and that Turkish man wanted a Bloody Mary.
They can't expect to indulge their vulgar foreign habits in an English country house, Caroline. Anyway, as I was saying, we've got to keep an eye on Nelson.
Right.
Make sure he doesn't try palming off shares in South American tin mines or selling off bits of Buckingham Palace and the Tower of London.
Anybody home? Are you there, Mr. Gabriel?
Oh, hello. Yes?
Well, I never. Fancy finding you here, Nelson.
Oh, Mrs. Perkins. What a pleasant surprise. I'm afraid Dad's gone out. Something to do with Dan Archer and Silas Winter's mole trap.
Oh, well, never mind. As you're sitting here with both bars of Mr. Gabriel's electric power on, I might as well warm myself up.
Oh, sit down, please. Perhaps I can make some tea.
No, thank you. I thought you were staying up at Grey Gables.
Yes, I could stay here, of course, but it's a lot of trouble for Dad. He really isn't up to looking after anybody else these days.
I should have thought you could have looked after him.
Would that not trespass on your territory, Mrs. Perkins?
Certainly not.
Oh, sorry.
I heard you've got business in Borchester.
Possibly.
You'll be here for some time, then?
It's really rather hard to say.
Oh, we are highly communicative, aren't we? Well, I'll tell you something, Nelson. You ought to be thoroughly ashamed of yourself.
Ought I?
Your dad thinks the world of you. Goodness only knows why. 'Cause you're an only child, I suppose, and he's going a bit daft in the head.
Oh, come now.
You don't treat him right, Nelson, and it's no use pretending you do.
I don't manage to get down to see him as often as I'd like, of course, but...
I heard you'd been in prison.
No, Mrs. Perkins.
Well, why didn't you come and see him then? Why didn't you come when he was ill in hospital?
Because I didn't know he was ill in hospital.
Jennifer sent you letters and telegrams. She went up to London to look for you.
I was out of the country. I've already explained that I was out of the country.
Well, it sounds very peculiar to me, Nelson Gabriel.
Well, I can't help that.
I can't help speaking bluntly. It's me nature.
I know.
You're a bad boy. You always have been.
Really?
It's time you stood back and took a long, hard look at yourself.
Oh, I'm sure you're right.
What's going to happen to your dad in the future, eh? His diabetics won't improve, not at his age. And his eyesight's not what it ought to be. I do what I can with the washing and cleaning, but...
I don't know why you don't marry him.
What's that?
Marry him, Mrs. Perkins. Let him make an honest woman of you.
Marry Mr. Gabriel? Honest woman?
I've been expecting it for years. Everybody has. I once bet Tom Forrest £5 that you and Dad would totter up to the altar one day. I'm not sure St. Perks didn't open a book on it.
Well...
Oh, you're not dashing off, surely.
I'll not stay here to be insulted and abused by you, Nelson Gabriel.
But marriage was the best solution all round. And it would give me the great honour of calling you mother.
Oh, good afternoon.
Oh. You must call round for another chat sometime. Ah, Jack.
Oh, hello, Nelson. You're still with us, then?
Yes.
Turning up like a bad penny. I've been wondering how long you'd be staying for.
You know how it is. Dad's not in the best of health. I feel I should stay with him as long as my business commitments will allow.
And how long might that be?
It's impossible to say. Ah, I see the sherry's out again. Very civilized, if I may say so.
My guests like to have a glass before dinner. Just a glass, you understand?
Of course. But as we seem to be the first down, perhaps you will join me.
If I must. I can't think why you're not down in the village giving Walter a bit of company.
Well, you know Dad, once he's settled in front of his television with the sound turned on the full blast, he's happy for the night.
He does have a spare bedroom, you know.
But unfortunately it isn't soundproofed. Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
I must congratulate you, Jack. You've created an atmosphere quite different from most hotels. I'm very impressed.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You also have some very interesting people staying here. I've had some fascinating discussions.
Now listen, Nelson.
Splendid sherry.
I didn't want to have to say anything, but a word of warning might be in order. My guests expect, they pay for, a certain kind of holiday and a certain kind of company. I don't want to have to spell it out.
I'm not going to try to sell them the Tower of London, if that's what you're thinking.
Eh? Well, of course not.
I know I've acquired a certain reputation locally. It's quite amusing.
Is it?
Village boy makes good under mysterious circumstances. Crooked deals get rich quick.
Yes. Well, I've nothing against the entrepreneur.
I deal in property, Jack.
Oh. Property?
And you know what happened to property companies a few years ago?
Scandalous.
Well, no public sympathy, that's for sure. It was quite a struggle. 1 million up one minute, 1 million down the next.
Good heavens.
I've always felt we have a lot in common. When you were buying Grey Gables, I was buying my first block of flats in Birmingham, Selly Oak.
Selly Oak? That's just next door to where I came from.
Don't say so.
What a coincidence. Have another sherry, Nelson?
Oh, hello. Sorry I'm a bit late.
Ah, Caroline.
Trouble with my zip.
Oh, you should have called out, my dear. I would have rushed to your assistance.
Oh, yes.
You look after him, Caroline. I've got to go and check the restaurant. An entrepreneur's work is never done, eh, Nelson?
Indeed, it never is.
Dearie, bye.
Oh, well. You two seem to have hit it off at last. I thought he was going to throw you out at one point.
So did I, and that would never have done. I'm glad of the chance for a little private talk, Caroline.
Well, the others will be down in a minute.
I was talking to Sid Perks last night about your experiences running a wine bar.
Oh, well, it wasn't that successful.
Hardly your fault. You know, I've been looking around the area for possible business opportunities. Well, now I've got a little proposition to put to you. It'll be much more fun than working for old Woolley.
The Archers was written by William Smethurst and directed in our Birmingham studios by Alaric Cotter. Radio 4. Now the time is just after 11:15, and Weekend Woman's Hour, introduced by June Knox Moore.